graduated from Rutgers, and after graduation, I joined Wall Street, JP Morgan, and got my MBA afterwards from Rutgers. So I continued working there, and now I work at BNP Paribas, also in New York City. So a lot of my financial background. I'm going to begin by telling you a story, actually. So I came from India when I was 15 years old, and just like a typical 15-year-old, I'm a teenager, really confused about coming to the US. It's like prime time of my identity. So in this middle of the situation, I come over here. I felt like I landed in a zoo because I went to India. When I came from India, I was in uniform. I was in very proper. If I didn't cut my hair, they would send me back to my house. Come to the US, everyone's wearing baggy jeans. Clothes are all over the place and hair's everywhere. So my mom asked me the first day that, how was your school? I was like, I felt like I'm in a zoo, all right? Mm-hmm. But it just kept getting interesting after that. So then obviously we had an English class. And in the English class, I'm just sitting like this, and they start playing the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you, if you don't know, you should try to see it. It's a really interesting movie. Make a lot of interesting comments about Hindus and stuff like that. So as we're watching this movie, there's a girl sits in front of me. She turns around and she goes, "Do you eat monkey brains for breakfast?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? This guy is just from India. I'm vegetarian. What are you talking about?" So I thought she was just joking, right? And I dismissed it. I was like, whatever she's saying, whatever. From that day onwards, for the next entire, from let's say the January to the June timeframe until schools closed, pretty much every single day, she would ask me in the morning. Unfortunately, she was in my homeroom also. "Did you eat monkey brains for breakfast?" Okay? Now imagine a 15-year-old that is sitting there thinking about this, and a bunch of white people are making fun of you, okay, for eating monkey brains and belonging to this kind of bizarre culture and tradition, all right? Luckily, I had a few friends who were very strong in their identity and were very dedicated Hindus, and they decided to stick up for me and help me out because I obviously knew I wasn't eating monkey brains, but how do I answer this lady? And then we kind of decided that we're going to approach her and say, "Hey, this is not right, blah blah blah." So that's a different story. Why am I telling you this story? Because I really wished at that time we had a Hindu Students Council chapter at Old Bridge High School where I went. Because if I had that, what would happen is I would have friends and community members and access to resources that would allow me to come back and say, "Hey, look, this is not what we do. This is what our tradition is about. Let me tell you a little bit more about it." But even from a reactive perspective, I think what would have been important is for us to go in and really proactively educate the community, not just Hindus or Indian people or things like that, but just the regular community about what we are. Who are we? Where's this brown skin coming from? Where are these tilaks coming from? Who are we? Where we come from, right? And also, what I got the chance to do is, because of that, because of the people that were involved with me in that community group that we had, I got a chance to continue that in college. So I'll add another story to this. Similar situation happened to me in college. I was a sophomore in college, and I took a Hinduism class. Over there, professor basically is talking about the Aryan invasion theory and how a bunch of white people or light-skinned people came from outside. They decided to colonize, brown people or dark-skinned people, and that's why the dark-skinned people are in the south and the lighter-skinned people are in the north. And I was just shaking my head. I was like, this is ridiculous. So I challenged the professor. I said that, there's a lot of new evidence at that time, and I'm just dating myself. The internet was just born, all right? You guys cannot imagine some of the kids here what that means. But the internet was just born, and we were getting access to a lot of resources. So I challenged the professor, and we went back and forth for 5 to 7 minutes about how the Aryan invasion theory is not actually accurate. And you should think about alternative investments or alternative theories about the Aryan invasion. So after 5-7 minutes, he basically relented and he said, "Okay, that makes sense." Why did I do this at the first? First of all, I didn't want to accept him to accept the fact that this is how the theory is. But more importantly, yeah. Okay.